doing stuff like the Murder Was the Case remix, Natural Born Killers, Keep Their Heads Ringing, and California Love. Like those were decidedly different sounds than what we had heard previously out of Dre and Death Row, right?
Yeah,
Because you had the
yeah,
Chronic and you had Doggy Style, but
yeah,
then all of a sudden here comes the remix to Murder Was the Case and all that. Tell me
yeah.
about working on those particular tracks and how those songs came about.
Um, the Street Scholars, we always thought that we when we created music, we created movies in our songs. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything that we produced had the sound effects, had the storylines, all the things that we were doing. It was always based off of like how would this be portrayed watching it in a theater? You know what I'm saying? We were highly animated like that. And you know, uh for instance, like Natural Born Killers, Dre, I mean, Dre was getting all the plugs. Like, Oliver Stone was doing this movie called Natural Born Killers with, you know, and he came back and he would tell us these concepts, you know what I'm saying? And he'd be like, I'm working with Cube. Cube is back, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be working with Cube and we're going to be making some heat. And then Natural Born Killers was kind of like a movie. We kind of knew what the movie was about, but but again, our group was always writing about the current times. That so the songs, the production, OJ, all that stuff that happened with OJ and Nicole, rest in peace,
Yeah.
and you know what I'm saying, all that stuff with um in Brentwood, on Bundy when she got murdered, and there was a lot of things that was happening. Um, uh, that Menendez brothers and them killing their parents and just like a lot of things that was on TV that was like high profile, very high profile. And so we would kind of like visualize in our making Natural Born Killers is like what was in the thought process of a killer, you know what I'm saying? And so like I would sample the blood, like drops of water, and
Mm-hmm.
that drops of water was supposed to be the sound of blood dripping, but that drop of water would happen on the beat, every downbeat you would hear tweet tweet. So it was like all the stuff
Yeah.
that we were doing in samples had a lot of like what I call in audio design or doing compositions in film is Foley. We would take a lot of sound effects and put them in our music. And it wasn't like sound effects that people would think. So car crashes, screeches, um, me taking a screwdriver and running it across the piano, an open piano case, and you hear this screeching sound, like all that stuff. We put it in our music, and then we lay some dope bass lines, you know what I mean, and keys and bass, and then Dre would have us experiment on things. So I was always doing all these lead, synth things that Dre was known for having in the G-Funk stuff, but we needed to go beyond that. So I would put like distortion guitar on the lead synth and make it sound crazy, like you felt like, you know, something crazy was happening in your mind and you couldn't get it out of your head. And all this stuff came together like a symphony, and that's was like Natural Born Killers. Murder Was the Case, the remix was the same thing. It was like I took a lot of crazy sounds, samples, and we put it together in the beat. And then I went up to Dre's house, and Dre was like, "This is crazy. This is crazy." And this is again, they were working on Snoop's uh soundtrack. Like he was like we got to do a follow up to Doggy Style, but we got to put Snoop in the movie. You know what I'm saying? So that's when he wanted to have Murder Was the Case. He wanted him to do the lyrics, but he wanted the music to just be totally different and totally, separate from everybody was used to him, you know, rapping over. Um, um, then, you know, California Love, it was kind of like Sam was making this beat. I came in and started doing like the keys. I sampled Joe Cocker's Woman to Woman. Again, that's the things that my brother and sister used to listen to. Um, and, you know, again, current times, like we were going through a lot of like uh, tumultuous situations where, you know, there was all this beef that was happening with East Coast and West Coast. And, you know, there's just territorial music. uh, Biggie was starting to get, you know, a little bit more gangster with his lyrics and talking about, you know, the East, you know, New York is the best and this and that. And there was a lot of rivalries that was being created. So again, because of the current times and what was going on, um, you know, Jimmy and Dre was like, we need to unify everybody because everybody here is off, you know, kind of doing their own thing. We need to unify the West Coast, you know? So, you know, I went and met with Stevie Wonder and I told Stevie Wonder, you know, um, he was like, what you doing? And I'm like, I got a dilemma. I got to make this song to unify uh, the West Coast. And he was like, well, he says, you need to make a song that's timeless. And I was like, what? He said, you got to make something like an anthem, something that everybody sings all the time over and over. And then he says, like happy birthday. You know, everybody sings happy birthday on the birthday. And
Yeah.
I was like, this guy, you know, first of all, I'm just in amazement that I'm around Stevie Wonder, but I was really like confused by the things he was telling me because I was like, how do I make a happy birthday song? And I'm making, you know what I'm saying? I don't get that. So when I got back with the crew and with Dre and everybody, um, that's when it clicked because, you know, we were talking about, you know, all the beef that was going on and everybody's territorial and unify the West Coast. So that's when, you know, I looked and Dre was like, he was listening to pop locking, California knows how to party, you know,
Yeah.
and then he was like, it was Dre was like, hey, wait a minute, let's do California. And then um with the beat that you made, you know what I mean, that has this West Coast vibe to it. Like it felt like the posse was riding in. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? The Cowboys was riding in. And then we mixed all that together and, you know, lo and behold, you know, California Love came. But see, that was supposed to be a Sam Snead song. Sam Snead, that was his song. He was supposed to be like like for the Street Scholars, his own solo album, and this was kind of after Recognize and all that stuff like that. So Sam recorded it. Jay Flex got on it and did his lyrics, and then once Dre heard it, Dre was like, "I want that for me, for my record," and so he plucked it from us and said, "I want to do that," and we're like, "That's dope." Dre wants it for his thing. That's even, you know, Sam, sorry, but you know,
Yeah.
Dre, you know what I'm saying? Dre wants it. So Dre took it and, you know, he went on and did his thing. And then, you know, we kept, you know, Dre kept working on it and mixing it and doing all these tweaking it and this and that. And then we got Roger Trotman to come out and Roger's the homie. You know, like I said, I've known him for years, and he came out. He blessed us with the vocoder, the tube box. You know what I mean? And then uh, that's when Suge heard it, and Suge heard the song, and Suge asked Sam. I mean, Suge asked Dre like, "What's that?" And Dre was like, "This is my song, like my new song." And then Suge says, nah, this is for Tupac because that's when we just got Tupac out.
Mm-hmm.
We just signed him, and it was kind of like all hands on deck for Tupac. You know what I mean? And so if it went from being a Sam Snead and Jay Flex song to becoming a Dre song, then turned into being a Dre and Tupac song. And by way of Suge, you know, coming in and just assigning it that way.
Right.
So it was dope though, you know what I mean? Like Tupac came in and he, woo, it's the first time I ever saw somebody come in, write something, lay it down and not have to recut it again and then go into another session and then lay something else down. You know what I'm saying? He was the
Yeah.
hardest worker. And that was kind of like how the songs were evolved, because we were kind of like writing things about the current times, things that were happening to us personally, you know, without going deep into the conversation.
Hmm.
And then, you know, making some, you know, Pittsburgh, putting that Pittsburgh sound and, you know, the influences that we had in Pittsburgh together, you know, and with Roger Troutman and all that. And then Dre,
Right.
you know, coming up with with the anthem, you know, title, California. So that's when I told Stevie Wonder, thank you. You know, I think we have that anthem